Namaste all. Today I would like to do a presentation before you on a very crucial topic, biostatistics obsession for Ayurveda experts. Any word? Nowadays, so many people in Ayurveda, especially Ayurveda medical professionals in all disciplines, are very much interested in biostatistics, adopting biostatistics and research methodology in Ayurvedic curriculum, research and clinical practice. So is it any worth for Ayurveda experts to be obsessed in this? Let us go deep into the topic. First of all, I'm starting with a very crucial thing, goal of science and scientific research. What is the goal of science and scientific research? The goal of any science is to establish truth through knowledge. That's why we have learned science in school, colleges, etc. Why do we learn science? We just want to know and establish truth through knowledge. So truthfulness is the core principle of a medical science and medical practice. Hence, scientific research in medicine is meant to be an honest enterprise, intended to explore, verify, and confirm truth by genuine application of science. Science means inbuilt logics of that specific knowledge system for saving and protecting lives. So anything science means the knowledge of precision. The knowledge of precision or certainty, that is what is called science. And that is why we are supposed to learn science from school, because it is something which is through which we can understand better about ourselves and our environment, and we can apply that knowledge sensibly in future also to improve our lives. That is the purpose of learning science. So medical science, obviously the purpose or the objective is to save and protect life. Now I am going to details of an important terminology which may be unfamiliar to many of you. It is called biological plausibility. Don't get feared when you find some technical terms here. I am explaining it as simply as possible. Okay, so don't worry. So what is this biological plausibility? It is a method of reasoning that can establish a cause-effect relationship between a biological factor and a particular disease or health. It is also means a method by which we can establish for this cause, this mechanism and this effect that can be established by between a biological factor and an effect, which is a disease. So it is also vital to evaluate whether a proposed treatment can cause the intended effect. Intended effect means what is intended to happen by the treatment. Treatment as such is intended to produce recovery of the disease or reversal of cause mechanisms of the disease. This is what the objective is for treatment. So whether the proposed treatment can cause the intended effect. It's not like benefit risk, everything in the universe, what we are dealing with, what humans are dealing with from external environment will definitely have benefit or risk on us. Doesn't mean that a medicine means it is not merely to produce some benefit risk. It is to produce the intended effect. Intended effect means the effect which is intended to heal the person. That is called intended effect. So that is the purpose or objective of a medicine, and not mere benefit risk. And the relationship between cause and effect will be consistent with the inbuilt logic of the particular science. This is very important. The particular relationship between cause and effect, that should remain the logic which explains cause-effect relationship. That should be consistent throughout, where a well-structured relationship between different components is clearly present in deductive reasoning, a goal-driven approach. So there are two types of reasoning, deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. So here in biological plausibility, it is possible to establish the cause-effect relationship by a logic which will be consistent with the particular science. So their deductive reasoning is possible. That is the peculiarity of sciences like Ayurveda. Logic in medicine. Ayurvedic medicine is a vast and complex science of man governed by inbuilt logical algorithms and principles for clinical decision making. It's not written like a therapeutic formulary like fever, these medicines and treatments, cough, these medicines and treatments. Not like that. It's a very vast science explained in three samhitas where all the inbuilt logical algorithms are explained for diagnosis and treatment of diseases which emerge in man, different kinds of diseases. There are immune mediated, metabolic, circulatory, digestive, all these different hormonal, all these are explained in technical terminologies. In Ayurveda, not only terminologies, technical algorithms to understand and intervene upon in Ayurvedic science. It is such a vast and subtlemost and complicated science of man. It's a medical science that has independent core science, very important. Ayurveda has an independent core science. Don't think that science has to be brought from somewhere and attached to Ayurveda to call it as, to make it a scientific. It's not like that. Ayurveda is itself an innately independent science, okay, for which there are inbuilt theorems, logics, principles, etc. to substantiate the scientificity of Ayurveda. And also, it's a medical science which has got independent potential to justify the action of effects. Justify the action and the effects by inbuilt logical reasoning. Ayurveda is thus a deterministic science. It's not a probabilistic science like Western medicine. It's a deterministic science led by deductive reasoning. In a deterministic science, the entire life process, normal and abnormal, are described through a set of fundamental laws of nature which always have a given solution for given initial condition which is explainable and demonstrable. That is the main thing regarding a deterministic science. There is a specific explanation, logical explanation based on inbuilt theorems and principles. Why this happened, what is happening, how this happened, where it will happen, where it can happen. Everything can be explained by consistent logics within the science. Such a science like, for example, mathematics. Mathematics is also a deterministic science. Deductive reasoning, I am going into the details. Deductive reasoning emphasizes reaching conclusions about a hypothesis based on the verification of universal laws. See, it is not based on data sheets, temporary data sheets. Deductive reasoning attains conclusions based on verification of universal laws. Universal laws. Laws are applied everywhere, same, consistent. Theorems, not theories. Theorems are already proven and established, unlike theories which are indefinitely proven, which can change from time to time. So Ayurveda incorporate theorems, siddhantas. There is technical definition given for siddhanta in Ayurveda. Parikshagir bahuvidam parikshya hedubhir sadhayitva stapyade nirnayaha, which means theorems are those, siddhantas are derived after experimentation by multiple scientists in multiple times, okay, arriving at valid conclusions based on logical reasoning of cause-effect relationship, karya-karana relation. Karya is the effect, karana is the cause. That is proven. Proven things are called theorems or siddhantas and principles pertinent to that hypothesis. Inductive or probabilistic reasoning explains an event by calculation of some probabilities for that event to be related to hypothesis. We cannot say exactly like how it will be. Suppose we assume that all swans are white. You are counting one swan after another. You find that one after another everything is white till 99th swan. 100th swan you are finding that it is black. So your observation gets changed. So based on the variable observation, you are changing the theory. You have developed a hypothesis that all swans are white. But the moment you find a black swan, you find a black swan, which means it is based on observation alone. But in deductive reasoning, it is not like that. There is a consistent pattern of knowledge and explanations, rational explanations. So for the deterministic science of Ayurveda, which incorporates finite theorems, not the incomplete and indefinite theories, laws and principles, deductive reasoning is scientifically befitting one and not the inductive one to arrive at valid conclusions. Scientific practice of Ayurveda. Ayurvedic science advocates Shastra Sahita Tarka. Ayurveda science tells you have to, all the physicians have to practice Shastra Sahita Tarka. What is this Shastra Sahita Tarka? Tarka means reasoning. Reasoning is to be done led by the logics in Shastra or science as the best tool for clinical decision making. So in Western medicine, Western research, randomized controlled trials are considered to be the golden standard. But in Ayurvedic research, it is very well documented that Shastra Sahita Tarka, there is a deterministic science in Ayurveda. So you must learn, comprehend the real intentions of science. Shastra Arthas, the real intentions, and you have to logically reason them in clinical practice to arrive at valid conclusions. Okay. Ayurvedic science also states very important, any random result of treatment administration is invalid unless it is backed by logical reasoning led by inbuilt principles of science. Yadricha Siddhi. Random result is technically termed in Ayurveda is as Yadricha Siddhi, by chance results. So anything by chance is strictly recommended to be discarded by Ayurveda, which means that Ayurveda is a deterministic science which gives validity only to those things which can be rationalized, which can be proven and established by transparency and repeatability of logics which are explained within the science. So this makes it very clear that this sort of probabilistic studies and researches are not befitting to Ayurveda. Ayurvedic science advocates the crucial necessity to do Shastra Artha Karma Anushilana. So, Ashtanga Sangraha, Bheshaja Vajaraniya chapter. Ashtanga Sangraha is a very important text of Ayurveda. Inside that, there is a very crucial chapter, Bheshaja Vajaraniya. In that, Acharya says, there are so many things which are to be examined in every individual patient. And finally, there is a condition where Vimala Vipula Buddherabi Buddhim Aguli Kuriya. It can cause confusions to even those people who are having clear intelligence. Vimala and Vipula, vast intelligence, profound intelligence, even they can get confused. Kim Punar Alpa Buddhehe. Then what will be the situation of Alpa Buddhis, people who are having less intelligence? So Acharya Vagbhada states a solution also for that. Tasmat abhikshnashaha. You have to be so much passionate. Shastra artha karmanu shilanena samskurveda prajnam. It should be a habit of Ayurveda scientific practitioners to constantly cultivate intelligence in Shastra Arthas, knowledge and practice of Shastra Arthas. Arthas means the real intentions of scientific verses explained in the science of Ayurveda. So all the physicians should be continuously working hard to understand and apply the logical principles inside the science of Ayurveda, or else it can even prove to be fatal. It can kill person. That is what Acharya is telling in the context. So that makes very clear that how much strongly Ayurvedic science is advocating the practice of scientific medicine. Now let's come to the Western medicine uncertainties at present. Though I am not a Western medicine practitioner, I have done some research. I have been doing research in the uncertainties of Western medicine, I would say right from 2012, or I would say right from 2007, because my first publication, Evidence-Based Ayurveda and Rational Prescribing, explain certain uncertainties. So I have started my research around 2008. Based on that, I am reaching these conclusions, which I am bringing in front of you. Okay. Two major kinds of uncertainties in Western medical research are aleatory and epistemic uncertainty. As I told you, don't get feared to hear these terminologies. I will explain what they are. They are very simple to understand also. Okay. So aleatory uncertainty and epistemic uncertainty, which derail the outcome of the research or results of the research. What is this aleatory uncertainty? Aleatory uncertainty arises from simple variations and inter-individual variations. When the same compound is administered to 100 people, definitely every human being is different in several aspects. So we cannot expect the same result in all individuals. So there are in sample variations and inter-individual variations. So that can result in uncertainty. The patient is not population, right? Population means a large group of people. Patient means every single individual patient. Both are entirely different. What you observe in population need not be what you observe in every single patient. So it is very clear that there can be uncertainties. There can be biological uncertainties, environmental uncertainties, pathophysiologic variability, a fact which is explained in detail in Ayurveda. Epistemic variations, second types are epistemic uncertainties. They are more intricate and arise mainly due to limitation of knowledge. So we should be knowing the science of man. When we are doing research in man, what we should know? We should have some basic knowledge regarding physiology and pathophysiology, fundamental aspects in man, in biological terms. What is happening in normal, what is happening in abnormal. So that in lack of specific knowledge regarding these aspects can cause epistemic uncertainties, because we are starting from unknown, we are sailing through unknown, we are reaching unknown. That is the situation of Western medicine, because unknown drug is researched compared with either placebo or some known drug. Some known drug means unknown itself. For the moment only it is explored for in a definite population for some period before benefit risk. So it can be unknown why, how, what, when, where, etc. Not completely explored based on a logical set of principles. So it is unknown to unknown. So it can definitely cause epistemic uncertainties. Persistent and widespread deficits in medical research create uncertainties in the effectiveness of medical treatments. This is what is happening to meta-research that synthesizes and scrutinizes empirical evidence. Empirical evidence means just trial and error evidence. There is no solid foundation for that evidence. Observational evidence it is. What you see is what is evident. That is all. There is nothing like why you see this, how you see this, what is happening here to make this vision. Like that, there are no questions. What you see is the evidence. So this empirical evidence suggests that problems in the conduct and analysis may produce many misleading results, including large proportion of false positives, which can happen when we draw inferences about the results of a treatment based on benefit risk. See, Western medicine is doing research to analyze benefit risk of unknown compounds. So it can, in a random population, we can never be confident whether this is the particular solution or whether this is the particular case in the patient presenting in front of us. Every individual patient. That's what I mean. Aleatory uncertainty is attributed to unpredictable behavior to predict the future conditions in every individual patient. We cannot say exactly based on a population result of benefit risk. We cannot say exactly whether this compound will do more benefit, less risk. Actually, more benefit and less risk is not it's a very vague thing, right? Because we don't know whether we will get benefit or risk. Any patient does not know, and even the doctor does not know whether the patient is going to get more benefit or less risk. So it is a very uncertain situation which is happening. Such kind of uncertainty. So future is unpredictable. That is what is called aleatory uncertainty. Western drugs are mostly unknown compounds assumed to be working. They are not sure that it is working by this method itself. Modern pharmacology texts are mentioning the same, assumed to be working by blocking, masking, suppressing, or artificially supplementing enzymes, ion channels, receptors, and hormones. Some things will work consistently in some groups, while some will work randomly. There is no information about treatment, including cause mechanisms, with precision and certainty regarding how it performs in research trials and regarding how it performs in real world in an individual. See, efficacy is the action of the drug in a population, but in an individual, how it is working. That is what is important. Cannot be predicted by this kind of research. Excuse me, I was just switching on my charge. Yeah, we are back. So, aleatory uncertainty arises due to inconsistent effects of treatment on different individuals within a population. The parameters of aleatory uncertainty are typically poorly defined. This is the reality, and researchers should have relatively little confidence in their predictions. Little confidence means no confidence in their predictions about the effectiveness of many medical treatments. This is what is happening today. 40% of papers are follow-up studies to rigorously examine new and presumably supporting treatments that they have become established in clinical practice originally found that they are not better than the previous practiced things. So this I have collected from a journal. You can see the reference. It is conducted by the research by so-called person whom I mentioned in the bracket. Epistemic uncertainty arises from the limitation of existing knowledge. As I told you, how, what, when, where, why different, how different, what is the reason. All these fundamental background knowledge lacking. That is how epistemic uncertainties are emerging. Existing knowledge in Western medicine about treatment is based on consensus, usual practice, opinion, disease-oriented evidence, or case series. Epistemic tools with a poor track record of generating reliable predictions about future treatment results. This is also not what I told. It is from a journal based on research done by the so-called person. So another 39% of recommendations were based on inconsistent or limited quality evidence from RCTs and cohort studies. The medical researchers are uncertain about the extent of uncertainty. Just imagine the drugs which are emerging today in the market approved by FDA. Even the medical researchers are unaware of the extent of uncertainty and solutions for the same. The medical researchers are unaware of the guidelines which explicitly address the tendency for medical research as a whole to overestimate the benefits and underestimate the harms. The benefits of uncertainty are rarely communicated with the society. That is the pathetic thing. Very rarely only medical professionals will share about the truth regarding the uncertainty of drugs in their prescription with the patients. But it is the fundamental right of the patients to know this. But unfortunately, not happening. Statistical uncertainties, human physiology is complicated. So when you are counting everything with statistics, which are considered as damn lies. So human physiology cannot be counted by numbers. It is complicated. Disease processes are causally dense and determined by multitude of factors, not a single factor alone, that interact in complex and often unpredictable ways. Okay, statistical predictions based on data of population cause non-replicable results in variable individuals. That is what is called aleatory uncertainty. Establishing causal relationship from observational data is notorious. RCTs have lots of uncertainties to ensure an unbiased estimate of the value. RCTs, randomized control trials, are techniques for establishing whether or not something helps more than it hurts. See, RCTs are considered to be the best golden standard of Western medical research. And unfortunately, Ayurvedic researchers are also tempted or forced to follow this method. Okay, but the thing is that it is for estimating whether or not something helps more than it hurts. So it is sure that it hurts also, just to evaluate for the moment whether it is helping more than hurting. Researchers primarily attempt to measure the intended health outcome because they want the drug to be released without much care for the potential hurt outcomes. Also, this is not told by me. You can see the reference, many of which they may have little ability to anticipate. Many trials are not powered to reliably measure the negative side effects, and observed negative outcomes are often omitted from the trial reports. These are all very commonly mentioned in many contexts, in many journals. I have mentioned only few references, but it is repeatedly approved by many scientists, many honest scientists in different parts of the world. The measures that are used for assessment of benefits are also not adequate. And other problems of Western medical research, researchers' ability to exploit the flexibility and inflate benefits explains why the industry-funded RCTs tend to generate more positive results. Very clear. The pervasiveness of bias and the conflicts of interest within the medical research are the key factors in ensuring that malleability leads to over rather than underestimation of effectiveness of medical interventions. So always it will be towards the overestimation and not underestimation. There are problems in translating evidence into clinical practice, into realistic clinical situations. If trials strongly suggest no benefits also, this is really very alarming, the last point. Even when the trial strongly suggests there are no benefits also, it can take years or even decades to withdraw that from the market because they are in broad usage. This is really very sad, very pathetic, because many people, they are using these drugs which are proven to cause no benefits. And of course, harm is always associated with benefits. So this is a very alarming situation in Western medical research. And also, doctors' judgment about the treatment value may be informed by their own observations, which may be mistakenly credit interventions with benefits that result from natural healing. Clinical reasoning is a crucial step in reaching medical decisions, and it is to be led according to evidence-based medicine concept. In Western medicine, clinical reasoning is to be led by research evidence, clinical expertise, and patient values. And research evidence is definitely statistical research evidence. Research evidence, as I told you, it has got both aleatory and epistemic uncertainties. And clinical expertise is a very relative terminology, right? We cannot generalize it. So it is entirely based on individual knowledge, experience, popularity, credentials. Patients do not know who is better. They mostly depend on reliability of physicians, patient values, more than their independent knowledge of the disease and what is the prognosis of their disease with Western medicine. They are not researching. They are completely putting their trust into the treating doctors, and they are completely following them. They don't know, actually, they are not doing any research, especially in India. I don't think people are doing much research on the treatments they are receiving, and they are not caring to ask questions also. And very few physicians are openly communicating with the patients what is fundamentally wrong. Maybe that is explained by some doctors. More important than that, what they are doing to rectify the same. I don't think many doctors are explaining this part, what they are doing to rectify the same, whether it will get rectified. If it is not getting rectified, then what they are doing, why they are doing that, and whether patient wishes to achieve such a state where it is not getting rectified but put on medicine with benefit risk. These things are to be explained to the patient. But unfortunately, patients are not explained this by majority of doctors. Now coming to inductive reasoning oriented conclusions. Western medical research is led by inductive reasoning, not deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is what is apt for Ayurveda because it is a deterministic science, as I told. So inductive reasoning starts with specific observation. There are 90 swans black, so 91st swan is probably black. That is what inductive reasoning is. But if you find a white swan, correct. They are they are changing. No, wrong. It is wrong. Swans can be black or white. So they are changing their theory. This is what based on observation they are changing. So based on observation alone, reasoning is done. Okay, and it ends up with generalized probabilistic conclusions. Maybe, may not be conclusions. No theories would be applied at the beginning of medical research as it starts from an unknown compound or an unknown intervention, and the researcher is free in terms of altering the direction of research also. In inductive reasoning, the approach aims to generate meaning from data sets collected in and the patterns and relationships, and it is merely learning from experiences. What you see, what you experience with the drug administration, benefit risk, rather than knowledge-led experience. Knowledge means why this drug, how this drug is working, what this drug is doing to reverse the disease, and in this particular condition how this drug in this particular condition in this particular patient how this drug is able to achieve reversal of cause mechanisms. Such things cannot be studied using this kind of research, inductive reasoning oriented research. Deductive reasoning is involved in formal logic, mathematical logic. In deductive reasoning, conclusions are certain. As I told you, fundamental laws, theorems, algorithms, principles are there in an established science to guide the research. To guide the research, there is a specific science, background science, solid science, deterministic science, and hence outcomes are not probably true or false, etc. It should be either true or false. If it is false, how and why? That will be answered in deductive reasoning. So we are able to reach conclusive statements by deductive reasoning because of deterministic science. Theorems and algorithms of Ayurveda follow deductive reasoning, and hence validity of an Ayurvedic science-led postulate can be tested using deductive reasoning. So it is a deterministic science. We can test all these things, whatever is written in our text. It is not story. We can choose the logics. Nowadays it is misinterpreted by ignorant people that everything is written as stories. No, they are not stories. They have written basic research evidences in the science and applied research evidences. We can understand and apply. Now today I am treating a patient with COVID-19 of COVID-19. I am able to reverse it within 3 days or 5 days. I am not healing. The body is healing. I am able to initiate the healing mechanisms in the body and complete the same within less than 5 days by a 5,000 years old logic in a science. Is it possible with Western medicine? 5,000 years old logic I am applying in a COVID-19 patient with pneumonia of modern times. So that is the success of deductive reasoning. That is the success of deterministic science-oriented research. Such a science is being misinterpreted and misapplied in today's research world. Deductive reasoning is logical thinking that employs a general law or principle. Again, to clarify, from those general principles, scientists can extrapolate and predict the specific results that would be valid as long as general principles are valid. When the premises are true, the conclusion will be also true. That is the success of deterministic science-oriented deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning aims at testing and verifying truth in existing logic. It's not because ancient scientists told we are doing it. It's not like that. It's not personal things. There are logics which can be tested, which can be verified in realistic clinical situations in research. and there is absolute transparency and repeatability with the logic. Punarbhava means we can repeatably do that, and consistent pattern of logics are there in Ayurvedic science, which can be used as objective standards in research. So that is why our ancient scientists have advocated to practice Shastra Sahita Tarka, science-led reasoning. Hypothesis in deductive reasoning. A priori hypothesis led by the knowledge that comes from the power of reasoning based on self-evident rules. It's not unknown thing, which is our starting point in Ayurvedic research, which is meant to be our starting point. Right now what we are doing is completely foolish in Ayurvedic research. What I mean is, it should be, what is the starting point of Ayurvedic research? It should be self-evident truths explained in the science of Ayurveda, theorems, algorithms, principles, which are independent of personal experiences. It's not that I have seen this medicine wonderful in COVID-19, so try this medicine. It is foolish. Ayurveda is not medicine-oriented, experience-led evidence. Ayurveda is science-led, logic-oriented evidence. So it is not based on observation alone. It is understanding science and applying science in the right way, which is yielding the intended effect of recovery, not just benefit risk. Western medical research is mainly focused on inductive reasoning, focused on naming a disease and emerging unknown compounds to mask or block illness. And what these compounds are meant for: mask, block, suppress, alter in a random population, rather than exploration of cause mechanism of the disease and reversing the illness by rational employment of specific and specialized principles. So this is what is explained in Ayurvedic research. In Ayurveda research, technically termed as pariksha, Ayurveda emphasizes that pariksha karino kushalo bhavanti. One who does research will only become proficient in clinical practice. And what is the objective of research in Ayurveda? The objective is to attain pratipatti jnana. Pratipatti jnana means knowledge. The knowledge which is precise to understand the cause mechanisms of the disease and mode of reversal of cause mechanisms of the disease. For this you have to do research. For this, logics are to be explored, logics are to be applied rationally, and cause mechanism effect is to be rationalized. This is the objective of Ayurvedic research. Inductive reasoning is a blind and unscientific process claiming the absence of theory and hypothesis, according to Kiriakou, 2004. In inductive reasoning, one cannot know how long recognition, selection, and action should be continued to complete the task, because the goal is not specified. See, 99 swans are white. 100th swan is probably white. No, you saw one black. Now next again, it is black. Next again, it is white. Next again, it is black. So how will you reach a conclusion in any period? Is there a possibility to reach a conclusion to substantiate or to confirm that all swans are black? It can be swans can be black or white will be the conclusion. And suppose when you reach a conclusion like that, in another time you are seeing a blue swan or a red swan, again the things got changed. So the logical observation is not happening. Simply observing and writing, observing and publishing. That is what is called inductive reasoning. So in Ayurveda, this kind of reasoning is not to be adopted, because Ayurveda is a deterministic science. It is beneficial only for discovering unknown solutions, perfect for Western medicine. Unknown solutions from an unstructured system, while deductive approach can be used to identify the cause mechanisms in a well-structured context and emerge specific conclusions, specific solutions to reverse the same. So it is the difference between deductive and inductive reasoning. So in Ayurveda, deductive reasoning begins with inbuilt established truths in science, draws logical consequences from them. You can tell what are the chances of next in the patient, what are his chances to worsen the disease, what are his chances to alleviate the disease, in how much time it can happen. What are the cause mechanisms which are happening currently, which are currently in progress in the particular patient? We can explore and say in a few minutes by applying the logics in science. This is the precision of Ayurvedic science. And as there is always a consistent logic provided in the concerned science, it is possible to understand the logical framework of the clinical problem by deduction. By learned and cultured intelligence, means learned and intelligence cultured physicians. For them, it is possible to do this. Unlike the Western medical system, Ayurveda is a science in which a given initial state of condition will always produce the same results when the inbuilt logics chosen and applied are correct. That is very important. Inbuilt logics chosen and applied should be correct. Then inputs will lead to particular outputs. We can predict the equation. So there is no randomness or variation in ways that inputs get delivered as outputs in deterministic science of Ayurveda. In a fundamentally non-deterministic system like Western medicine, there is always some randomness or choice involved in the models. Even randomized control trial term itself implies everything is random. Maybe, may not be, probably, benefit, risk. Who knows who will get benefit, who will get risk? Nobody knows. They are counting in population only. Ayurveda adopts the deterministic approach in studying behavior of man and his relation to environment, both internal and external. By logically understanding the intrinsic cause mechanisms of disease in humans, by applying the science of Ayurveda, we can determine the future of pathological process in him in a later time based on certain fixed, determinant, rational standards of science of Ayurveda. These processes are guiding outputs also. So same inputs, same outputs. Karya-karana relationship, input-output relationship can be explored and established in Ayurvedic science. Data in relation to human being, very much different. Clinical state in human being is a reality. What the patient is presenting before you, that is the real thing. While data is merely a temporary expression of a group of people or a population in which variable conditions are present in different individuals. It is not possible to emerge solutions to know and reverse cause mechanisms of morbidity in man by probabilistic unknown compound-led research. How is that possible to know and reverse cause mechanisms? It is never possible. In inductive reasoning, several individual facts are observed first and documented as data, and probabilistic conclusion is derived from data sheets. While in deductive reasoning, first of all, knowledge is acquired from the fundamental science, and later clinical reasoning is done by deduction. So to verify the truth in research, one needs to check the validity of conclusion by applying causal reasoning and systems thinking. Again, two jargons, don't get feared. I will explain what causal reasoning and systems thinking is. These two are very much applicable to Ayurvedic science. Causal reasoning is the ability to identify the causal relationship between set of causes and effects. This is possible in Ayurveda. Causal reasoning is there in Ayurveda. Causality involves a set of chains of events that can be used to infer or predict the effects and consequences of a particular cause. It is because Ayurveda is a pure science, so causal reasoning is possible. Pure applied science can be applied also. Systems thinking is a conceptual framework where understanding is defined in terms of how well one is able to break a complex system into component parts based on different components that a system involve, causality between multiple factors, and hence subtlemost analysis of all these factors can be done to arrive at a valid conclusion. See, one effect can be caused by multiple factors in a human being. It's not that one factor alone is causing one effect. A person who is not drinking water, he can get constipated. So if you are giving a laxative to the person for constipation, for example, emollient laxative, or bulk laxative. Suppose you are giving bulk laxative to enhance the bulk in the intestine. That is a wrong approach. Why he is getting constipation? Because he is not drinking enough water. Sometimes infection may be associated. Infection can cause constipation as per the logical reasoning in the science of Ayurveda. So it could be by infection that the person is constipated, temporarily constipated. So the main step is to rectify, reverse the infection by stimulating metabolism. Then constipation gets alleviated. So there can be multiple causes. These multiple causes functioning at one time. Sometimes multi-morbid conditions. Diabetic patient who is hypothyroid, who is on statins, anti-lipid drugs, okay, and he is having hypertension. He is presenting to you with osteoarthritis. So there are multiple pathologies, multiple cause mechanisms which are to be connected based on certain established logical framework. And finally, the deduction is to be done. What is to be done in this patient? It should be simplified and it should be done with most minimum medication or intervention in most minimal period to reverse the cause mechanism. This is possible. This is what is called systems thinking. It is possible with Ayurveda. So these are the two valid features of Ayurvedic science: causal reasoning and systems thinking. So these are the evidences that Ayurveda is innately a science. Hence, when deductive reasoning is applied in research, and if one cannot find a single counter observation, the conclusion can be accepted as true, and solutions emerging can be scientifically valid. If one finds a counter observation also, with deductive approach, it is possible to understand, explore and understand why negative effect here. Okay, if negative effect emerges also. So that is what deductive conclusion is. The results of deductive reasoning in medical research are whether the intended effect is possible and not benefit risk. So intended effect, if you are doing reversal of cause mechanism, you should get recovery or beginning of recovery. Recovery may be in 1 day or 1 month or 1 week. Once recovery process starts, it is recovery itself. It cannot be like complication and death. Recovery means it should be recovery itself. No benefit risk. If you are opening a door with a key, right key, will the door get damaged? There is no chance of door to get damaged. If you are trying several keys one after another, anytime door can get damaged. So deductive approach is possible only for deterministic sciences like Ayurveda. The results of deductive approach led by cognitive reasoning applied in a sound rational knowledge system. That is called science. Science means the knowledge of precision and certainty. You just check in the dictionary what is science. It's the knowledge of precision and certainty. We are learning science in schools. Are we learning probability in physics and probability in chemistry? When these two reagents are mixed, it may be this effect, or this may be that effect also. Are we learning like that? No, because it is a pure science. It is a logical science. It is a deterministic science. Now think. I'm going to conclude. My conclusion begins. How is the outcome of the application of a deterministic science possible to be validated by trial and error data of empirical drug administration? I am asking my dear colleagues, teachers and researchers, scientists and faculties and policymakers of Ayurveda. Humbly, I am asking these questions. Please don't consider this as my ego. This is my curiosity. I just want to know how this is possible. If you have answers, I am ready to listen to you. Please come forward with answers. How do RCT-led guidelines of empirical common treatment administration in a random population help Ayurveda medical professionals when they are asked to do Shastra Artha Karmanushilana for accurate clinical decision making? Does Ayurveda really require new medicines and treatments, especially in a situation where old established medicines and treatments, scientifically established, scientifically experimented, scientifically validated by logics. Treatments and medicines are explained in the science of Ayurveda innumerably. And without studying them, without exploring them, without understanding the optimized ways of their application, what is the need of exploring, or what is the need of emerging new compounds as treatment in Ayurveda? Pink. Can the Ayurvedic system be proven by publishing RCT data of medicine and treatment after treatment administration? Do you think it is possible when you publish RCT data of treatment after treatment? Do you think Ayurvedic science will get proven? Does Ayurveda have independence in executing its innately scientific tools, research methodologies, and strategies? Today, why it is not there? Why it is not there? Ayurveda is an independent science with an independent footing. Why Ayurveda is not getting permission to do independent research, independent clinical practice? Why we are restricted from doing practice in certain diseases in certain period? What is the reason when Ayurveda is an established, known and established, documented science in India? And anytime research is possible for science-based medicine. Why we are restricted in certain period? Don't treat that, don't treat this, notify this, like refer this to what you call such people, Western medicine. Why we should do that? Why we should do that? Why independent potential is not getting recognized in India? Ayurveda is Indian system of medicine. If Ayurveda is not getting recognized in India as independent system of medicine, then where it will start? Outside India it will start? Why WHO is allowed to rule Ayurvedic science, ABCD of which is unknown to them? What does WHO know about Ayurveda? I would like to know. I would really like to know. I would really like to interact with WHO officials regarding. I'm really curious to know what they know about the Ayurvedic science, Ayurvedic treatment scientificity, Ayurvedic logics, Ayurvedic research methodology. What do they know? Whether Ayurveda has independent research methodology, whether they know that, whether they know anything about the independent scientificity and potential of Ayurveda. If they do not know, then why they are allowed to rule the Ayurvedic science? I'm really yet to understand this. Correlation is not causation, that is proven. Something related to, two phenomena are related, does not mean that one phenomenon is the cause of the next. But then why then also, why Ayurvedic researchers are always doing behind studies to understand the correlation in place of causation, when there are specific logics explained in science to understand the causation, cause mechanism effect relationship? Why Ayurvedic researchers are compelled to study correlation, probability, etc. Biostatistical reasoning, according to me, is an anti-intellectual way of doing research in Ayurveda. I repeat, in Ayurveda. The purpose of medical research in Ayurveda is to produce researchers who are capable to understand and apply the innate logic and algorithms of that particular medical science. See, when you are learning physics, we have to apply physics. Don't ask us to apply biochemistry or something else. When we are learning physics, to solve a problem in physics, we must apply physics itself. But this is not allowed. So why we are forced to apply this biostatistics in place of innate logics and algorithms of our science? Scientific analysis is not statistical analysis in Ayurveda, my dear friends. An example with reason analysis. A certain disease when untreated is known to, this I have read in a journal, I am quoting it as it is. A certain disease when untreated is known to have a mortality of 50%, and later a drug for an unknown compound in Western medicine. What is a drug? Drug is an unknown compound in Western medicine. Is developed and given to 6 patients, out of which 2 die or 1 die and 5 improve, or 2 die and 4 improve. The efficacy of the new drug is counted much better than no treatment. This is their statement conclusion. So these are my questions. This is completely foolish, and here are the reasons. A certain disease, when untreated, is known to have a mortality of 50% is a very illogical inference, because every patient with the disease is surviving, improving, and worsening his health, not based on the absence of treatment alone, but based on multiple complex, multifactorial, and interconnected individual aspects. When a new drug for the disease is claimed to save 4 or 5 out of 6 people because of their survival and recovery, it's not necessary that it happened by the drug itself. Because if it is by means of drug itself, then all the 6 would have been recovered. The body has an innate, it is like underestimating body. The body has an innate healing capacity, and it is not programmed like an artificial machine. Okay. Also, if a single person dies after receiving a particular treatment, it is also possible that his death could be by means of an experimental drug, which turned adverse in his body conditions, or otherwise he would have healed by himself. So this is my analysis. Please think over that. Hence, it is really impossible to claim based on temporary reductionist observational data of benefit harm that efficacy of unknown compound is better than no treatment. I would say it's purely illogical claim, 100% illogical claim, because it is the innate capacity of adaptation and healing phenomena of the body that enables a person to fight and win the disease and survive healthy, and not really any unknown compound intended to block, mask, or suppress the disease. How can it be? Clinical diagnosis is a complex operation, and a disease in Ayurveda is diagnosed based on a carefully elicited individual history and physical examination by inbuilt algorithms of science and relevant external tools, diagnostic aids, available today wherever required. Flaws of statistics, already I have explained all this. I don't think there is a need to explain more. There can be individual variations by these factors. You can go through that. Statistical data only tell whether a given group of people responded better, and nothing about whether it will help to improve a realistic individual in a realistic situation. Newly tested and approved drugs do not mean that they will save all individuals with any disease. The negative results hardly get published, only positives do, that too with overestimation, exaggeration. Counting statistical reports of random population as valid research evidence in Ayurveda is anti-intellectual. Okay, because Ayurveda advocates Shastra Sahita Tarka as valid tool for scientific decision making and not Data Sahita Tarka. Ayurveda is explaining Shastra Sahita Tarka, science-led reasoning, and science-based medicine for practice of evidence-based medicine. Teaching and training biostatistics permanently eradicate the crucial necessity to culture physician intelligence in the principles of practice of science-based medicine of Ayurveda by looking into the data on the benefits and risk of empirical administration of Ayurveda medications and treatments. Physicians forget to think and apply common sense in their science of Ayurveda. In fact, they are discouraged to do the same. They are not learning anything in the science. They are just doing biostatistics. They are learning so hard. What is the use without learning science? What is the use of biostatistics? How is biostatistics beneficial to improve their intelligence for logical prescribing, to do justice to every individual patient they are encountering with? This is my doubt. The sole purpose of conducting research in Ayurveda is very well mentioned by Acharyas to attain pratipatti jnana. You do research to understand and treat and reverse the situation. Anything which is meant to produce benefit harm is considered as ashuddha chikitsa in Ayurveda, impure treatment. Ayurveda ancient scientists have advocated abandon impure treatment, be scientific practitioners, abandon random results, learn and understand scientific intentions and practice them. So then what is the purpose of doing like this? Really, I'm having so much doubts in this. And also, to do the right and intended action and not to help the manufacturing companies and publishers. Ayurveda physicians are to be genuine scientists, to explore truth in science and help the humanity, and not to help the manufacturing companies or publishers to display statistics and make new medicines. Let us stop this nonsense and grow in science, please. Professional Ayurveda community going behind statistics is originally demeaning and disparaging this brilliant science and system of healing, which strongly advocates all the physicians to abandon yadrcha siddhi, any random results, and practice shastrarthas. For a medical practitioner that starts from unknown compound and searches for a better unknown compound or treatment to block, mask or suppress a disease, data-oriented probabilistic evidence is at least needed for ethical approval. Though do no harm is never possible. And this is why Western medicine is adopting RCT-oriented research. For them it is okay because they cannot do better. For them, they need some evidence to prove that some benefits are there along with risk. That is not the situation in Ayurveda. Okay. To conclude, this is my last slide. Science is not that which constantly changes. This is a very myth that is propagated in the society today. You must understand that science is not that which constantly changes. If physics changes, theorems, principles change. When we learn new, do we learn new physics? Whatever we are learning as physics in high school remains the same. Basic things, I mean. Application can improve. Application can be refined. That will happen. But I'm asking fundamental things. Fundamental things cannot change. They'll remain as consistent. Logics remain consistent. So science is that, not that which constantly changes. Science is that which explains the changes. If changes are happening in a phenomenon, knowledge of science explains why it is happening. Why and how is explained by science. Very important to know. Science instructs know and do. What we are doing in science labs, we are learning first. We are understanding. Then we are going to lab doing. We are experimenting. We are observing. We are verifying data. We are able to connect cause, mechanism, effect relationship, and we are reaching valid conclusions. So science, because we are learning a valid science. So this is the objective of science. Science instructs how to do, knowledge and doing, and not blindly do and guess. This is not science. According to determinism, Ayurveda is a deterministic science. Physics, mathematics, etc. are deterministic sciences. Medicine, at the same time, Western medicine is probabilistic because they are starting from unknown, compound oriented, treatment oriented. Okay. So the scientific medicine in Ayurveda is that which is scientifically chosen and optimized. What does that mean? Approved by the logics of Ayurvedic science for use in the particular clinical situation in the particular patient. B. Scientifically administered. Administered in the optimal dosage of right medicine, rightly manufactured medicine ensured with quality standards in an optimal time of administration. There is optimal time of administration mentioned in the science of Ayurveda. When to administer, whether it is to be administered in empty stomach or in between food or after food, morning, noon, evening or night, whether it is to be administered at different timings, repeatedly in small dosages, etc., etc., are explained logically in the science of Ayurveda. This is what is called optimal time of administration. And C, scientifically assimilated. There should be an optimal internal environment in the patient when you are administering treatment, because treatment is intended to reverse the disease. So internal environment in the patient should be conducive to reverse the disease by scientifically designed diet and regimen for a particular period till the disease gets reversed. These things are crucial determinants of scientific medicine in Ayurveda. This is my conclusion. So please think about what we are doing in Ayurveda, how much it is true, and this is open for a very fruitful debate and discussion. I believe many people will respond to me. I believe we can even conduct an open platform so that public can also join us to understand better. I hope this will be a beginning for a new resuscitation in Ayurveda, a new beginning, a revolutionary renaissance in Ayurveda. Namaste. Thank you. Jai Hind.